So what are people asking? That's what I want to know.
Questions here.
Yeah, what are they asking? What do people want to know?
All right. Question for DMAC.
Oh.
Are
Trying
we-
to do
are
all
we-
this donkey. You know, anybody out there first thing.
I don't know if we need headphones.
Yeah, are we?
You don't.
People can hear us?
recording it for Facebook and YouTube.
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't need them, but I like to hear
we want
myself
the,
talk.
oh,
You haven't realized that
We
yet?
want the meta.
Jenny, how long you been hanging out? A couple years now?
Oh,
You
I
haven't
did.
realized
I
that?
love you, man.
All right.
I know. But,
First question. Question for DMAC. What was the most memorable night of your career other than the fight night at the Jeff?
well, obviously, to say the 97 Cup, you know, to win the first one 22 years ago today, to be able to score a goal, and not really the fashion that I scored most of my goals. In fact,
That was a hot goal. That was a Russian goal.
See, that's what I mean. The
That was a
influence,
Russian goal.
It was like Russian, Swede. It wasn't a Canadian goal, that's for sure. So I don't ask why. I mean, I don't care why it happened. They can't take it away.
Yeah.
You know, I remember doing a pirouette in the corner, and I always joke. I said, I got 4-7 from the Russian judges on my spin. But when I saw Steve Yzerman's eyes, and they were the size of dinner saucers, I knew I did something good, because he never looked at me like that, like in amazement. And so that was good. Look who's here.
Oh my God!
It's the Grind Time Zone, Perry Vellucci, chauffeur extraordinaire.
I heard big announcements.
Yes, Perry's here.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Somebody says, let's see. How does the legacy of the Russian Five impact hockey culture in modern Russia? Or is the memory as a group of five more limited to hockey fans in North America? Do we know that?
How does it affect? Say that again. How does it
impact hockey culture in modern Russia?
I think it affects the culture really greatly. So if you look at the current players, all the big guys, you know, whether it's Nikita Kucherov, you know, Ovechkin, Malkin, they grew up watching these guys, but they grew up watching them in the Soviet Union. So in the Soviet Union, I believe you were treated as a machine. And actually, Slava Fetisov just gave an interview in Russia, and he eloquently put this. So instead of being treated as a machine, when they came here, they were treated as individual players. And when you watch our film, I think that will really come through. So I think that gave forever the Russian guys an ability to be as an individual. Because if you grew up in the Soviet Union, it was us, it was the machine, everybody is equal, right? But everybody is its own person. So I think it really has an effect for these guys to shine as individuals. And I think whether you want to believe it or not, it's great to still come here and win the Stanley Cup and want to desire that. So that's a big trophy to win. So I think looking at those guys, they were looking up and saying, I want to do that too.
Question for DMAC.
Run the video, Perry, for Grind Time.
DMAC, what's your favorite
flip it
venue
around.
to play in Michigan?
What?
Oh, no,
your-
it's
What's your
right.
favorite venue to play in Michigan?
Venue?
Venue.
You just got to turn it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
That's why Perry's not a cinematographer.
What is it? See, those lights are...
Well, that's the upper light. So you were right from here, from this side. No, you're right.
Not playing.
Just do it from this side.
Anyways, what was your question?
What's your favorite
No,
venue to
not
play
like
in
that.
Michigan?
It's fucked up lighting. Sorry, what?
Your favorite venue to play in Michigan?
Music?
I guess.
Or what's my favorite venue? I mean,
Yeah,
when you
they're not
say
specific.
venues, then I think music. And that would be watch. You know, the best place was Joe Louis Arena. I mean, for everything, and not because it was fancy or flashy, but because it was Detroit, and it was gritty, and it was like real. Like you know, you're gonna slop through beer, and you're gonna walk around this, and your shoes are gonna be sticky at the end of a sporting event or a concert. But it's the real, and you know that's what Kobo reminded me of, and all the venues around. You know, like it's one of those things where I know that LCA was voted the entertainment capital or the entertainment in the world, right? The
Complex, yeah.
The complex, so which is a huge.
Yep.
You know, but when that's what it is, an entertainment. It's not a hockey rink. You know,
Yeah.
you lose that touch, but that's the society. So you have to. I firmly believe is that you can get all the personal awareness and feelings of, I don't like it, and just, but how now it's like I tell everybody it's your responsibility to figure out how you're gonna watch the game, where you want to watch it from, if it's your house, if it's in the rink. There's not a bad seat in Little Caesars, but it's about bringing that Joe Louis atmosphere, and people know what I'm talking about. And what happens is when the team starts showing promise and winning, then that's when the fans come and they start getting loud. And I think that's because that's the way it's always been. That's the way we know. We're not teaching ourselves something new. We're teaching a new generation of how it's been, So, and that's something that we learned because it skipped so long, being 42 years in the middle. So people know how to do it, whether you're my age at 47 or 37, which you remember. So you were 15, 17 years old when this was happening, or younger than that, because you're formed by what you've watched. So it's just, to me, it's about looking at what your responsibility as a fan now to either teach somebody through like this movies like The Russian Five, because what you guys, I say it all the time, and it's not just me saying it, it's all the rest of my teammates that eventually see it, and Scotty Bowman. You got the architect of it all who says you captured it spot on. So
what about music? What's your favorite music venue? Just in case they're asking about that.
the always the Fillmore. The Fillmore is my.
I still call it the State Theater.
Yeah, exactly. That's, if you notice, I paused because I had to say politically correct, but it is a state because that has that old school small. I saw Limp Bizkit and
Was it
and
Clutch
Cypress
7
Hill.
Dust? Okay, no, I saw
Limp Bizkit and Cypress
Clutch
Hill
and
there,
7
and,
Dust.
and
I saw some
back
great
with me and
shows
Bobby
there.
Higginson, former Tiger, were at that show, and it just always the way that the upper deck can bounce. And I saw White Zombie there with Sheldon Kennedy back in '93. That was probably the last time I mosh pitted, but it was fun.
So, Josh, what's next?
Hold on.
I think somebody was asking that they saw a couple of weeks back and thought it was great. Are there any sports hockey-related documentaries you all will be interested in doing next? That was the second question. Are you interested in any sports hockey docs? So I'm going to just take a break from hockey for a minute. But I think I would love it if somebody, wink, wink, told the story of Darren McCarty, right? Hello? Darren McCarty's story.
I don't know if they can handle. I don't know if they can. I don't know if I'm ready to handle that. That doesn't mean.
Well, when you're ready,
Exactly.
I think the Darren McCarty story would be really great.
I think we got to add a few more. I think we got to add a few more caveats. I think we're going to add a few more caveats. And,
Yes.
one of those things that, yes, because I believe that anybody that has gone through things that I've gone through. Can relate, and where do you want me to start? You can go through so many different things, but the thing is that you always got to keep getting back up, and it can always get better. And it's the self-awareness, it's doing the work yourself and trying to find out who you want to be, and to do it. And it's funny because I wrote the book 6 years ago, 7 years, I don't know. But yeah, it's one of those times because I got so much to fill in that the books take too long. I don't want to write another book. So the movies and the video and the podcast, it's just up to date because I got so much great stuff going on, and it's due to a lot of work, but a lot of people close to me that believed in me, and then is surrounding myself with the right people now, like yourselves, like Perry, like Yzerman, Michael upstairs, the family that we're building here in the podcast world is like we're doing it exactly like we did it in the Russian Fight. I'm only doing things that I learned that I finally am applying. That's the thing, is that I'm applying it because of the self-awareness of who I am and who I want to be. Right. And that's all it is. And yes, I've always been one not afraid to say this is the way it is. It's got to be done right. And obviously, I mean, who else is gonna do it than this guy? So
Well, it's
we know that.
perfect. We'll take a little break from
Yeah,
sports.
yeah.
It is. Well, we got to enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing, is that we get to cover the gamut. And that's the fun part, is
do
that it's
something
not about
else.
us.
What about you, Josh? What's a story, sports story? I'm going to put my phone in a charge.
Well, there's a baseball idea that I've got kicking around in my head, and I don't want to say too much, but it's a fictionalized idea of like what goes on in the locker room. But for me, baseball had a really interesting time in the late 80s, early 90s where Latin American players are coming in, free agency is becoming a thing, and those two things are forcing guys who maybe are in certain parts of their career to consider, do I use performance-enhancing
Right,
drugs?
before it was when it was the gray area.
Right.
The gray line. And I think that, one of the things, Josh, is that you've proven to, and you'll prove to anybody who sees this, but you've proven to yourself and proven to everybody, is that to capture, like, these are moments that maybe we forget. We talk about the steroid era, and we talk about, but why is this happen?
Right.
Why was the Russian Five? Why is this story and the Red Wings able to step out and do this? Is because the wall had started to come down, and the communism was falling. So with the influx of that, I think and as a purist baseball, that it's not even talked about as much as why, guys. It's we know what happened. We know that, this guy's not in and this guy's not in and this guy cheated and stuff like that. But why did they do it?
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, dude, don't tell me that Sosa, McGuire home run watch that you didn't watch it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, my feeling's different on base. It's one of those things that it's tough because guys are using the rules to their advantage. So if owners are going to do it and other things are going to do it, it's a fine line it's a question of scruples.
Right. Right.
Right. It's really comes down to morals before it comes down to legality. And then in hindsight, everybody is, you can't do that. And I think it needs to be, I think that the people that are involved, like you said, because the one thing that documentary-wise is that what you were able to do and why the Russian Five works so well is because you got mostly everybody talk about it and the real life people, right? So to hear a guy, just to throw it out there, like a Sammy Sosa or a Rafael Palmeiro or Clement or whatever, just to be able, they want to talk about it. It's another thing. We talk about concussions in sports. Well, this avenue of why.
It's reality of it.
It's reality, so bring it out. And I think that it seems like almost 15, 20 years later is the sweet spot where everybody's willing to, okay, wait, I'm going to step back and take a little bit more subject view of what happened instead of an emotional view. And I think that that's why, the pieces that, because history doesn't change, and that's what this is. The Russian Five is, and if you're talking about, new project into the baseball world, that's a huge one because I don't think it's been broached enough.
No. So, next question. Question for the group. I started writing my answer, but I'm curious what you guys think. Where do you see Vladimir Konstantinov's career going if he wasn't in the accident? I remember watching him and thinking, he's going to be our next captain. He reminded me of Draper, and then he gave it every single shift. I'm saying he would have been a Hall of Famer, hands down. He'd be the guy young players would model their game after.
Well, especially in that era, it'd be who's swapping the Norris every year, him or Nick. And imagine having those two guys. But yeah, his career is definitely, I mean, he's a guy that guys pattern their game after, and he's the guy that everybody's looking to replace their team with, that plays on the edge, that can, add the offense. And people don't realize is as fierce as Vladdy was, how talented he was. I've never seen a defenseman score more breakaway goals in my life.
He had that sick forehand backhand move.
Sick forehand backhand. He had it on the right hand. Homer had it on the left hand.
They knew it was coming.
You can't see. Homer had that chop backhand shelf in the phone booth because if you can make it quick enough and put it in a spot, it's just, you can't grab it. It's just like shooting a bat. You watch guys that are 7 feet try to block, but if you throw it over the fingers, like just that little bit, little Steph Curry does that little floater, that's exactly what it is, except it's a rifle shot right up in the corner. You can't stop it when you do it properly.
Now, this other part of the question, do you think he might have been the next captain over Nick? Or
No, because that's he could have been. I mean, to say no, absolutely not, no, absolutely, but it's the way that he definitely is a leader, and I'm not going to say he wouldn't have been, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. The answer is no because it was never come to fruition, but not like they bring up a good point. He could have been. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I feel like maybe wasn't.
There's 5 guys on our team that could have been captain.
Right, right.
You know that represent you bring up Draper. I mean, he's the epitome of what would have been, but it's also soldier. We're the A. So whether you had the letter on or not, everybody led in different ways. So, and it wouldn't have been like, oh, he got it and he didn't. No, because guys lead and. In their different ways. So I'm sure it was a conversation, but they might have swapped it back and forth. One of those things. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't know.
I think knowing him and watching him and even the film that puts his character together, he would have been what he wanted to be.
Yep.
I mean, I think putting it like that guy had no boundaries, whatever he set out to do or think about, he would have been that, he was just that guy, right?
I think the sad part is that we would have that fans would have started to get to know Vladdy more as Vladdy, the person, and because in the film what you do is you endear the personality that he wasn't like Sergey the poker face, or Vladdy. I got drafted by the Red. Like people don't realize because they think he's so mean and stoic that he's just as the same as in the tough guys are the sweetest guys. So I think that his personality and the joker that he was and the way that he interacted, I think that they were getting more comfortable. And obviously, you don't get to you look at the way that Igor, and Slav, but like Igor endearing the community, with the hockey, with his son, with the wine, with. The charity stuff and being all around traveling and still making Detroit a part of the home, they appreciate that. And I think that the people just got to know Vladdy more personally.
Yeah.
I think that's why this film works outside of the hockey world, right? Because you guys as hockey players, you're sort of closed off. You don't never show too much of your personality. You're this guys on ice, and especially it was before social media, right? So how does one get to right? So how does one get to know you, right? It's very hard. Where now, and even now, as opposed to other sports, hockey players are very reserved in terms of like they just don't talk too much. It's not me, 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 me. It's a team sport, So to see those other sides of some of you guys in the film, I think is very endearing to people because nobody got to know you guys like that.
Yeah, and what's endearing is the home video and the pictures and the stuff that guys provided because you don't, and especially how many times do you hear, oh, I didn't know that's what you look like back in the day because you got your helmet on all the time or whatever.
Right.
Like that's if you want to see somebody what they look like, you go to warm up. I mean that's it because there's usually no helmets in warm up. So
how true was like the characters that you would see on the ice, the characters you see on the ice that we would see, like the players, how true was that characteristic of them, like off the ice?
Yeah, there's a lot to the personality, to the way that they played. Like that, but you'll see like more so is the guy, like I said, like a guy who's gonna try to punch your face in or whatever is usually the guy who's gonna be holding the babies at the taking pictures at the next autograph show and stuff like that, or the biggest sweetheart. So that's the misnomer, is that the harder the guy is usually the softer he is off the ice. You know what I mean? As a teddy bear, and that's true to all the tough guys that I know, all the guys that play hard. It's that passion. So if you talk about Vladdy, he was no different.
All right, Mac, we got a fun one here. Would you rather fight one Claude Lemieux-sized turtle or 100 turtle-sized Claude Lemieux?
No, say that again.
Would you rather fight
I'm trying to grasp it.
Yeah, one turtle who's the size of Claude Lemieux or 100 Claude Lemieux who are the size of turtles?
Oh, 100 Claude Lemieux are the size of turtles. I'd just be stomping those mothers all day long, dude. They can't run anywhere, and I could just tee off. I could use some of it. I could practice golf with a few of them. I could use a hockey stick with a couple of them. For sure. When I was younger, the first thing in my thing is give me that turtle size. I mean, what is it? He's a little bigger than Donatello or Raphael. Does he? Right? I mean, because let's see if this guy fight. But no,
Oh my
that the
God.
older me is like, no, man, let's go crush turtles. Nothing against turtles. I love turtles, especially those chocolate Canadian candies.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Wouldn't you? I mean, I like it a little bit easier. And plus, man, I could probably get my stick. I could get like 6 of them at once, right? Oh, that's great. A good question, though. I like
Yeah.
that.
I like that question. I didn't know you can get fun like that.
Oh yeah, no, that's people try to get fun on this all the time. That's great.
Let's have some fun, people.
All right, I'm looking for some fun questions that we can get through, and then there's some of that Jenny and I can kind of dig into, but let's see here. What we got? Mac, you've played with a lot of legends over the years, but who do you think is the best player you've ever played with?
It's a good one.
Well, here's like, what is best player? You know, that's the like the most talented or the best all around, or I mean, because the most skilled guy I've ever seen is Sergey. As far as like, see, Sergey had this shot, right? Which to me it reminded me of like a pellet gun power, like a ting, but it was at laser speed. So he just picked, you know what I mean? But it wasn't going to hurt you. Like if you had to block a Sergey shot, it's not as heavy, right? Whereas different guys. Now, you know, you go down the roster. Which one do you want? Because you're dealing with so many great attributes. It's like, greatness in one. Some guys are greater in others. So, you know, like Stevie, as far as everything all around and learning with leadership and how to, you know, commandeer a room of egos, but not even really saying anything, but with your presence, because you lead by example. You know, him and Nick are sort of the same way, and being world class, you know. So a lot of time, all you had to do is soak it in osmosisly, especially talent-wise, and it rubbed off. That's what happened 22 years ago. I just sat next to Kazi long enough, that grumpy bastard, you know, let me score one of his goals.
Mac, what player did you begrudgingly respect the hell out of?
Begrudgingly respect the hell out of Chris Pronger.
Chris Pronger.
Yeah, Chris Pronger. I played against him since we were in juniors and stuff, and, you know, just hard. Like, he played always the same way, chippy, edgy, you know. But him and I don't know begrudgingly, but Darren Hatcher was the guy, because I always come up against him and big, and it wasn't begrudging because I respected him, but it was always like, you know, there's no nights off, especially playoff hockey. And
Yeah, I remember when the Wings got him for that season before the lockout, and everyone was excited, and then they changed the game, and it was sort of almost like the Hatcher rules, where they're like, we're going to get rid of players like you.
right.
All right, I'm refreshing. Let's see what other
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
there's
questions.
tons of questions there.
All right, let's find a good one here. Legacy. What is most important? Josh and Jay. I'm looking for ones I can throw at you, Mac, right now. We all love that Steve Yzerman is back in town. Is there any story you can share about him during your time playing with him that we might not have heard before?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you to go read my book, My Last Fight, True Story of a Hockey Rock Star. But, okay, I'm gonna out him right now, and I don't know, because this is to get my invite to Oakland Hills, right? Because Steve Yzerman used to be the greatest range player, and then take it to the first tee, and then didn't know which way he was gonna hit it. Like, he's the purest guy on the range, but he thinks too much in golf. I haven't golfed with him in a long time, but that's Stevie's like hidden, like, diehard passion. The one thing is I really remember is my first couple of years. I went out to Warwick to the Buick with him, and we were standing on the range, and Freddie Couples' caddy, Joe LaCava, who's Tigers caddy now, from Chicago, huge hockey fan, and he called us over there, and we got to sit and chat and BS with Freddie, and Freddie gave him a boom boom driver back in the day, which was a Lynx driver, which looks like a small head. You go back to it compared to the guys these days. So just things like that, stuff like that. Him and I used to, and then we'd go to Indian Wood for the LPGA and stuff. So he's a huge golf nut. Huge golf nut. I think that people don't realize, as much as how much he loves the game.
Isn't he? Yeah, he's wearing.
He'd be a great Ryder Cup captain. Just as far as like just feeling the vibe of, just his way of. Because I think him and Tiger have a lot of a little bit of the same sense of humor.
What was that? A great. You said
Ryder Cup captain. Because him and Tiger's schmarminess is Stevie's schmarminess, but it's like a respect you see guys have. It's like a lot, that's the only comparison as far as talent I would give him with Tiger. But it's like they have, you see you can see Tiger smirks and Tiger, different comments and stuff like that. That reminds me of the way that Stevie could say it to get people to perform.
I love this one, Josh. It says, thank you for doing the AMA. The question is for both the team and Darren. What is the most important thing you learned from putting together this documentary?
Yeah, I saw that right here.
What is the most important thing we learned from putting together this documentary?
So let Matt go first so I can type his response and then.
Well, as far as the team, it's that the bottom line is it doesn't matter where you're from, what color you are, what race you are, religion, is that you need unconditional love and respect for the human being beside you to win, and throw it all on the line. And to use the analogy, I don't mean it by anything, but it's the easiest one to use in sort of a war of sports. There's so much more to it that you have to want it as much as the person next to you, but in the purest form, not for personal reasons, but for the team, for the group, for the cause. And I always say I was a cog in the wheel, but I know that without my cog, the wheel doesn't turn. So I don't care if it's a spark plug, if it's the nut, the bolt, it all needs it. And we had a great engine, we had we had fancy stuff, but we also had, in the interior of it, we had Detroit built, American made, muscle and heart, and that's what it is. The car was the shiny thing that you display and you unveil at the auto show, but it's built, the engine and what it's made of and where it comes from is the most important part. And everybody in that room, right, embraced what it meant to be a child of Detroit, and it didn't matter if you were me, who it was easier because of the work ethic and the grind, or if you were an Igor because it was the same way on an elegant level. There's elegance to people around here too. There's a bad rap. So it's the combination that you need all different levels and all different people the best to provide. That's I use that in what I'm trying to create today and with grind time and stuff. And it's the people
Building the team.
The team. It's the people that when the goal is the product and to make, and no matter what it is, then you're willing, because you know that the person next to you is doing absolutely the most that they can, because it's about the project. And for me, individual awards are great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we all love them, and I'm not saying that they don't. But to me, it's the sharing and to be able to look, to be able to the more we get out of it, and you guys to bring this back up just revitalizes at the time of what it's about. Because sometimes I think we forget how we got here and what it's about, because life, we get older, we have kids, things happen, good, bad, and different, but this is who we are, and this is a part of our history, whether you're from here or not, but if you paid attention or not. And then you get into, forget about if you're a hockey fan, because hockey's just a subject, it's life. If we're talking about the movie, how you guys put it together. And
Well, we're happy to have you on our team, first of all. You know what? You've become an integral part of helping us take this to a whole other level. So we appreciate you. So that team, definitely, we couldn't have done it as we sit here today
I feel like Shanny.
without every single.
I
Yes.
feel sort of like Shanny, the sort of like, come on in and everything. We're going to just win a couple cups right now, guys. I
Yeah,
hope you
yep,
know that.
yep.
And, like, oh, you mean, oh, it was hard getting here? Oh, okay. No,
But we just want to say honestly, like there's been like so many people, as you guys see the credits roll. Stay after the movie, watch it when you're watching it at home. Just watch those credits roll, and you will see what does it really take. Yes, we're here, me, Josh. We're doing the press, we're talking about it, but look at all of the people behind the scenes and every single person it took to bring this to life. There's so many people, And for me, if we're talking, what did I learn? It just really reinforced my already belief that anything is possible, because with this film, again, it's one more thing that's possible that you put on that shelf of things that seem to be impossible. I'll never get tired of saying it. A boy from Port Huron, a girl that came here with nothing, 6 suitcases, $100. Dan, who came here with 17 cents. Literally, you take people like that, where it seems like we've got so many odds stacked up against us, where it seems like the world is not going to be in your favor. This is America. Anything is possible. People, I really want you to feel this vibe of this country where you could take anything and turn it into the most successful thing. And we just qualified for potentially that Oscar nomination. God, I can't tell you how that probably seemed impossible for you 7 years ago, or for me stepping into this project, right? It's just anything is possible. You just have to make it possible.
And see, the whole point, and my role being brought on is because to see it, and because it's so real. And now it's just all we're doing is making sure it's the same thing. I don't really want to know. I mean, I do want to know if you've seen it or not. But when I asked you, do you know that the Russian 5 movie's out at digital and stuff? Do you know that I have a podcast called Grind Time with Darren McCarty? I just want you to be, that's all I want. You'll get around to it. You'll watch it when you can. The fact that you can download it now. The fact that you can take it and put it on any device. So we're going on that trip or whatever else for watching in front of somebody yesterday said they were going to watch it, or on the podcast the other day was going to sit around with the family and watch it as a family.
Yes.
What a great way to do it. So like that's to me, it's just letting people know it's out there, and it's not a hockey movie because the more people that see it,
It's a human story.
it's a humanity story. It's real life, and it's real. It happened, and you captured it happening the way that it did. It's just I can't say enough, and everybody knows that I get behind a lot if I believe, in it, because it's the truth. It's my responsibility because the people that weren't there or that were there for whatever reason, that you have to see this, and you won't be sorry.
Every person that I've
It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I learned today from Lee Thomas, who's Critically Lee on Fox 2. That never happens.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you that people can separate, and no matter what's going on, and just take it for what it is.
Yeah, usually it doesn't happen. Critics are rough on films, And I mean, that's such a pleasure to see as we're reading the reviews, especially from people who really get it, who take their time to watch it, to really understand what it's all about.
Well, I think it blows people back or blows them away on different ways.
Yeah.
And for me, I've seen it 4 times, and a different emotion or different parts of the film hit more than others. So it's one you can keep watching over and over again because of different parts and different things, and it's the way it really was. Can't say that enough.
All right, so here's a question that I think actually you can speak to.
Josh, have you not learned I can speak to
I
every
know
question,
you-
whether it's well or not? It's just that's the question.
Specifically. And you were coming up with Kazi at this time, but I'm interested to know if the movie actually downplayed the cultural clash between the new Russians and everyone else on the team. I know you're all professionals, but I imagine there was some latent hostility towards former Soviets. Now,
Not in our room. Not in the league, yes.
yeah, that's
Not
what I
in
was-
our dressing room. and it was because Kazi was down in the minors, up and down the year that Ozzy and I were in the minors. But and you could tell, obviously, coming back from the injury or whatever. But he's a likable kid, and that's when I sort of like demacked him way back then. And then the fact that I sat beside him, and the fact that I say grumpiest man in hockey, but we did talk, and we did, and Kazi's, you get Kazi because Kazi's a different. You get him around Igor, and Igor can get him to open up because there's a trust there. But it was never not acceptance because of, I think, especially the veteran. Now, before I got, and I say never in our dressing room. Now, before I got there, obviously, and there had to have been at the beginning, and you see it in the film, but I wasn't there then. And I think it was just trying to understand. But Scotty came in. So Scotty, when I started, came in. So the thing is, Scotty's so far ahead. He knew what he was doing and how he had to maneuver. And I always tell a story is that, dude, one of my first years, Sergey and I went out to the concert at Kobo. It was the Stone Temple Pilots and the Meat Puppets back in '93. Then we went out clubbing at after hours all night. I mean, it was one of those things that we tried to incorporate as much, communication as possible because when you realize you need these guys to win and they are good guys, misunderstood, that's the one thing is that, I'll used to believe what I was told until I get an experience that it's, nowadays, I'll fact check everything, but it's like my personal opinion. You could tell me that, and I'll take, if I ask somebody an opinion on somebody, right? And they'll give me their opinion. I take it from that person's opinion when I meet them, but I give them the benefit of the doubt until I make my own opinions. I've learned that in everything in life, you have to don't believe everything you see. It used to be before social media, that was the way it is. It used to be that way. Nowadays it isn't. So it's just that self-awareness again. But,
But from the other people, though, the Russians were bred to believe the Americans are bad. The Americans were bred to believe the Russians are bad.
Absolutely.
Somewhere in the league where people are like, oh, here are these Russians.
Absolutely. Like they're taking our jobs and, the Don Cherry.
That
was real. And especially in Canada. Because Canada being the Canadian sport, and then you're bringing over and it wasn't so much more the Russians and the danglers. Like if you could play hard, like Vladdy's he's Canadian. You give this, is this guy Canadian or whatever? Like Sergey, Mogilny, all those, there's Bure. There's a talent level that is speed. It's different, so you got to respect it. Now, would you, see, that's tough for me because I try to take everybody's head off. And I didn't care what name you were. Actually, the true story is that I lost my tooth to a Russian when I went to hit him in St. Louis and got a stick-up cross-check me. That's how I lost my tooth.
Which Russian?
So he wasn't. He was a young kid. He was scared shitless.
Well, wouldn't you be if you saw Darren McCarty coming at you?
Yeah, but dude, that's not. You don't get your stick. I mean, my bad. I mean, I wouldn't have these great cemented in front teeth right now. Thanks, Doc Platt.
Doc Platt. Let's see. Okay, Darren, this is your opinion on this? Yzerman is back. He played alongside these guys, obviously. Does this increase the chances of 91 getting retired?
I never thought of that, but yeah, I guess. Yes, no, I don't know. I don't know how the retirement jersey works. Mine's retired right here behind me. In the Grind Time studio, so I got and when I shoot Grind Time, I got Ozzy, the Bruise Brothers, Joey and Proby and Maltz and Drapes in here, so that's my banner, So I don't really get involved in that politics too much, but if you're gonna throw some jerseys up there, 91 and 30 are two good ones to throw up there. Mm-hmm. So at that. Yeah.
Hey, Mac.
Does it? I don't know. I don't think that's a priority in the organization right now. Let's go out and win and get in the playoffs, and then we're you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, But if it is a priority, I don't know about it.
There's just such a movement. There's so many people that
Yeah, no,
continuously talk
then
about
if
it. Right.
that's
The fans, I mean, not even like the organization obviously kind of stays quiet on it. But it just people are constantly talking
well,
about
and
it.
they will talk more. And so if that's what it takes or whatever, so
Yeah.
they see the movie and see, because the one thing about this Russian fight movie, which you do really well, is because Sergey is one of the most misunderstood people in Detroit sports, right? And because of what happened and went out. But Sergey, dude, he's one of the nicest guys. He's one of the most thoughtful people. He's not somebody that makes rash. He thinks about everything. He's calculated, and he's more introverted, pushed out there where you think he's extroverted, but he's not. So you just have to understand that Sergey's a great guy, but Sergey's Sergey. And when you see the film and realize that he's sort of been lone wolf all his life, like the beautiful white, wolf that walks alone and the other packs off to the side, it's sort of his journey, between where the country, because he's like, I tell you, Jenny, I said, out of any person I've ever met, Sergei Fedorov was born in the wrong country. Right? Because if he was born in America, like he's, you know what I'm saying? I always thought that he didn't, he
didn't
was
fit
somebody,
in,
the
yeah.
stork dropped him dropped him early or late, depending on which direction it was flying. It's because it always
Yeah.
was, but misunderstood. And I think you understand more of Sergey. And the one thing that I know about Sergey is he just wanted to be appreciated, felt appreciated. And we always would tell him how appreciated it is. And without him, without him fighting through injuries and whatever, and guys are built differently. When you're a Ferrari, you can't take as much damage as the Hummer over here.
Yeah.
Okay? So different things, different guys, but what he went through and what he endured. And because of, sometimes in whatever reason, you're going to need that support and that push from around you. And the fact that, he knew that not only he had his Russian brothers there and gonna yell at Slava and Vladdy, you see the relationships even deeper, because of that. But the moment when Vladdy goes in and yells at him, or when there's different things, because that's the brotherhood of it. It's not like why. It's just that people are that way. So what do we do about? Okay, no, we give you a hug and we tell you no, we need let's go, instead of everybody's willing to throw everybody away. No, come on, let's go. This is what we're about, because you get off track, and I'm one to speak from it. In life, you get off track, but you can always get back and it's through the people that have your pure intentions for you, and that's what I feel as a team we did.
Mac, I grew up watching the Russians play during the 70s, in early 80s. So like with the KLM line and the Tretiak, and then early in Igor and Slava's career. Did you ever watch the Russians?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and what was your thoughts
Like
on that and how they played?
Obviously, 80s Olympics. Yeah, 80s Olympics. Yeah, like that and stuff like that.
So this is for you. I know the answer to this from my side, but I'd be interested to see if you saw this. What kind of culture shock did the Russian players get from moving to the Detroit area? So did you guys notice? Did they ever talk about the culture shock? Did they say this is so different in America? Like, would they ask you things that they didn't know about?
You know what? As they got more comfortable and stuff like that, but like you said, Sergey was all he would, like you said, yeah, Corvette, yeah, bald, yeah, all this and get it out. Whereas the other guys weren't maybe out and about, but Igor and Slava were older and stuff, so Kazi would sort of follow around wherever you go. But yeah, and then when you go out on the road or just different things and having the conversation. But for me, that was my history lesson, because I sit on the plane, play dominoes, and listen to those guys talk and say I couldn't believe how it used to be and how 11 months secluded, sneaking out to go see the girls, because unfathomable for a Canadian kid.
Yeah, Jenny, what do you think?
I mean, I think the most basic things, right? So you come from the Soviet Union, which at that time it was, like, food is probably the first thing that blows your mind. I mean, I know that Slava tells that story that he couldn't even, I mean, first of all, we've never seen pizza, we've never seen things like that. But, like, getting something delivered, food to your door, totally mind blowing. Culture shock that everything is just so readily available, that everything is at your like fingertips, anything and everything you want. It's just the variety of everything. I mean, I'm sure it blew their mind. I mean, it blew my mind when I
Blows
came
my
here.
mind today. McDonald's delivers.
McDonald's delivers?
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats
Yeah.
deliver,
Yeah, okay,
McDonald's,
yeah.
yeah.
No, but
Like,
that's the same thing.
yeah.
That blows like everything. Everything delivers now. But yeah, that's technology. Everything like the sped up.
Yeah, and I mean Sergey playing the video games. That's in the movie, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
that's
I'm-
mind blowing.
Well, so I'm writing my response, which is,
Yeah.
Mike Chovich talked about in our interview, and obviously we, for time you can't keep everything, but Sergey went overboard and like would buy every electronic he saw because he didn't know if it'd still be there. So like Mike would come over to his apartment in the Riverfront Towers, and he'd have everything, every new Nintendo game, every game system, and Sergey loved video games. That's
Yeah.
one thing. Like we show
And his
him
Corvette.
his Corvette.
Yeah. No, I mean Sergey was just a big kid. He just
Yeah.
like he was like 16 years old all the time. It's almost like and I get it because I moved away from home when I was like 15,
Right. He
16.
moved away when he was like
so
12, 13.
but and you're also not taking I went 6 hours. He went 6 billion miles. I mean, it's like a different thing. So you attach on to something, and that's, Sergey's easy if you pay attention to Sergey and listen to him. It's not hard.
Yeah, Chovich told us, he would just play video games. In fact, Joe Kosher, I think, mentioned that in '97 he was Sergey's roommate. Because Scotty is basically like Joe. Make sure he goes out and hangs out with the guys and just doesn't stay in his room playing video games.
Yeah.
So the modern day Joel Zamaya.
Yeah. Except we won.
Yeah, culture shock. I mean, music. And those guys loved music. So we didn't have access to music like this, right? So I'm sure that they all gravitated towards American music like this, right? They were like, this is so cool, right? Going to
Absolutely.
concerts.
I remember when I was drafted, so because I lived so close, I'd come over and work out. And I remember I was working out, and Sergey was there, Sergey was there, and he was going to Guns N' Roses. And it was back '92 or whatever when Axel was like 3 hours late and had the hot tub in the back and all that shenanigans. But I remember the next day, Sergey come in, he's got his Guns N' Roses shirt on, had a great time, but he loved that stuff. The culture, he was all about learning about it. Like you said, he wanted, he enjoyed it and he wanted
He learned
more.
language right away. He picked it up.
Yeah, he did. But like I said, he was born in the wrong country because in his DNA, that's who he is.
Let's see what else we got here. I just saw one for you, Darren. Oh, there's
there's
a lot of questions coming in.
a lot of
We're starting a
questions.
trend.
Because it's lunchtime. Do you see the one? What was your favorite thing about playing against Avalanche if you had to pick one?
Winning.
So somebody is asking. Winning. I still
That's
say
a
it's
good
the
answer.
best rivalry in sports history.
Winning and make not only make like it's sort of one of these
I'm just gonna
hurt
let you
yourself,
answer.
help yourself because we got Patrick Waugh traded from Montreal, right? But traded to Colorado, which was bad. But then we got him to retire by the end of the 7 years. The last game was 0-2. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I do take some solace in making him retire. I mean, not me personally, but I was there.
Was it 2002?
Yeah. That's just a competitor in me.
All right, what else we got here? What did your lead? No, we shouldn't answer that. I saw a good one right here. Where'd it go? Oh, here's a good thing. D-Mac, I'm going to skip the rest of it. But if you were to do it, if there were to be a D-Mac dramatic movie, who would you want to play you in the movie?
All right. No, yeah, he could probably have the range to play me, McConaughey, but we got a lot of things in common. Except I never play bongos naked in my front yard.
I mean, there's always time, man.
There's always time.
It's sunny outside. You can do it
That's
today.
it, right? Yeah, there you go. At which you never know. Never say never, Jenny. You know that. Anything's possible.
Anything
It's
is possible,
America.
including you playing bongos naked in the backyard.
That's it. It's been, yeah, but I've done that already. No, I haven't done that. Not the bongos, maybe the harmonica or the cymbals. But I haven't really thought about it. But that somebody said that to me before, and that would be cool.
I could see Matthew McConaughey playing you.
He's got that range.
He's got the similar looks too. You're a good-looking guy.
He's got that accent though. Yeah, but we'll see though. I mean, hey, when you're wondering, I don't know. I'd love to hear suggestions. You got the director on the line. You got the director here too. So don't worry. Just so people know, like, not only Josh isn't just throwing around ideas for documentaries. He's got a couple other ideas that we've been throwing around. So I like creating characters and thinking about, oh, this guy would be great for that, and this guy would be great for that.
Yeah.
So it's something that to think about. But I'd be interested, not only who, but why.
Right. Well, I mean, the question I would ask is, are we going for someone who looks like you or someone who can totally embody
No, you're going for the
your
embodiment.
presence? And I think
Right.
that's the thing.
No,
especially-
that's why you think people want to know Hollywood, right?
Right,
So like
right.
that I figure with the Hollywood answer, but there's somebody out there that would make probably more sense.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't look anything, but I mean, give Christian Bale the role, and he could go anywhere. If he can play.
Oh, I like
between
Christian
Bruce
Bale.
Wayne to
Yeah.
Dick Cheney.
I like
think-
Christian Bale.
I think you can find. Darren
Dude, they just
McCarty.
that speaking of that, off topic, but that Ferrari versus Ford, Christian Bale, Matt Damon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just yeah. You want an act, you want somebody that's. But the good thing is that these things take time, so we have time to think about it. But I'd be interested in hearing what people have to think.
Let's see. For DMAC, after the interview with Claude Lemieux and the signing touring, did you guys develop a friendship that none of us would ever imagine possible, or was it more of just a professional respect and bearing of the hatchet?
You know what? It has developed. It was burying the hatchet to begin with, but the more that around him, the Winter Classic and stuff, I call it the way I see it. Claude Lemieux, the person, I have respect for, and have today could go golf with him, would see him, would give him the bro hug, stuff like that. As a person, as a player, no. And we've talked about that, but Chelly told me that it's in hockey and in sports sometimes there's that different person. So as a player I don't respect him, but as a person, and that started not after the interview, but the interview was bury the hatchet, and I realized because I was trying to hate him the whole time, but he just didn't. He's got that because his self-awareness, and especially now where he's come that he handled it wrong. That's the whole thing. He doesn't regret and I don't begrudge him for saying that, things happen and you play hard. Well, then you have to apologize, and you never did. So you're never going to get off the hook for the way you handled it, in my opinion. But I can move forward from it now. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Not now, but do the same thing again.
He probably would too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the type of player he is.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. Then that's the good or the bad. But that's hockey, and that's old school, old time hockey. But old time hockey is also eye for an eye, and in the karma of the whole thing, you saw the way it played out.
Well, I always thought it was unfortunate because as a player, the dirty stuff aside, he was clutch. Like,
Oh,
he
dude,
was a
he
guy
was
that, like,
dude. You look in the film. I didn't realize that he was. I forgot he was in Jersey, and I forgot he was our nemesis. And it meant even more that the fact that you're showing the world that I got the monster. So it was just the way that it had to. That's why the storyline, the way that it played out, you can't. We're talking here about this, that, or the other fiction, nonfiction documentaries. This is a Hollywood script in a real life story.
Yeah, you couldn't write that if you tried. I'm gonna go get a charger for my computer so you guys carry on.
All right.
Sorry, all my electronics are dying today. It's one of those days, man.
What else we got here? Let's see some good questions, folks. Question. Wow, successful. That's for us. We'll do that later. Somebody says, well, he technically already fought a clawed Lemieux-sized turtle. As far as the
That's
other
pretty good.
question.
I turned him into a
Turned him
Claude
into a
Mute. It was like a transformer.
You were the radioactive sludge.
That's
that
it,
made him
dude.
from just a
Folded him
turtle
up. Folded him up, and then I unfolded him over at the bench. So it all worked out.
Unfolded him on the mat. Let's see.
You know, it was funny, Mac. What was it Shanahan was saying that during that fight that you didn't even realize all the other stuff was going on. That you were
No,
in
dude.
tune with
Yeah, exactly. You don't realize how close Wall was to grab me, Shanny flying in the air, until we watched it after.
All right, Mac, here's a question for you. Is there a guy you fought in your career that you were friends with off the ice and really didn't want to drop the gloves with? If so, how was the conversation with the guy after the fact?
Brad May and I are good buddies
Brad May.
and fought about 3 or 4 times. The job on the, you know what I mean? Like one of those things. And the way, they happened in the course of the game where it sort of had to happen each time, but no harm, no foul. It's, you do it, and that's out of the respect, It's doing your job. Paul Cruz and I used to have some great fights, and it's the respect, the guys that you respect, because you're not gonna take advantage, and it's your job.
And I mean, with that, I imagine that you're approaching the fight a little differently than you would.
Well,
if
sometimes it happens,
were
where
Adam
where
Foote.
it's a group, and then you end up picking out. You don't realize who you're fighting until you're halfway through it. So I think the way it ends sometimes is when you're mad at a guy, you don't want it to stop. You're getting at it everywhere, old school. When it's a business, when it's done, it's you get yours, I got mine. Did the job, fans are happy, teams are happy, go about your business, nice work, collect your pay. Pretty much. Go ice your hand. Get stitched up, whatever.
Let's see.
Did you see the one about the goal song? That's kind of off the...
I haven't seen that yet.
Did you guys like the goal song when playing in Detroit? Would you have changed it? And if so, to what?
Which one? The Hey Hockey Town?
Is that the goal
What
song?
was the goal song?
I don't know. The hey.
Or was it the no? Or was it no? Or was it the?
Stanley.
Well, I just remember I always loved to hear Shanny score because they always played Irish Jig.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't.
I don't-
Is
I-
it different goal songs all the time for different people?
well, I know when Shandy scored, they play the Irish Jig. So
Yzerman was Rocket Man. They put Rocket Man. That was his nickname, Rocket, for his shot.
Yeah. Did you guys like the goal song? Would
Oh,
you have
I just
cha-
asked
Did you
which
have a
song.
specific one that they played when you scored?
you'd think I'd remember it because it just didn't happen that much. But yeah, WTF? What happened?
That was Boston. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
DMAC, do you still genuinely hate or dislike any Avs players or other rival hockey players that you fought with, or is all that hate just a thing of the past?
It's not a thing of the past. I think it's amusing because it's funny how to watch guys like Adam Foote or Patrick Waugh still like bitter about because we won 3, they won 2. We won, out of the whole scheme of things and whatever. And you could sense it, like guys like Sakic, Ricci, and Mike Keane. They understand, and there's a pride there too of what it is, and could put it where it is. But other guys, and that just comes down to people. People are different. Just because the jobs are different. What you do is not who you are, and
But everybody loves winning.
I will say,
everybody loves winning.
I think that the rivalry is still going on, at least in the organizations, because when we tried to interview Patrick Waugh, we got the run when he was still the coach with the Avs. We got the runaround from the organization. We got, oh yeah, sure, he'll do it, and then like the morning of, oh no, we got in late last night. He doesn't have time. We'll reschedule, and then they fired him, so we never got Patrick. But like they weren't eager to give us any help.
Why would they be? That's still but that still sits in, and that all depends too. As time went on, who was still in the organization. Now, Colorado, if you look, Joe Sakic's running the helm, so it's a Sakic Yzerman again. You know what I mean? It could get back to something like that but the difference is they're in the West, we're in the East. Right. It would be it's diminished. So you're going to look to build another rivalry, I guess. And the game's different than it used to be. The parity of the game is that you're playing every other night, and you don't have time to bust a rivalry.
Let's see. Darren. Oh, here we go. This is a long one. Is this a question or just a statement? I wanted to take this opportunity to share this with you. For reference, I'm from Detroit. I'm 36 and grew up watching the Wings with my grandfather, who was essentially my father growing up. He died in February of 2008 and didn't get to see you lift the cup that year, but was so happy you made a comeback. I've read your book multiple times, and you've been an inspiration for me as long as I can remember. I've had my own demons over the years, and your story really inspires. And when I'm going through something rough or different, I'm always reminded of your conversation with Art on the podcast about going through those scary moments and learning from them, growing from them. It's something that means so very much to me, and I hope these words just make you smile, knowing, probably for the millionth time, that you've had a positive influence on someone's life. Much love, sir, and let's go Red Wings. Woo, the captain is home. Yeah, Darren, I think that's something that's really kind of cool about your journey is, as a player, you were able to inspire so many people on the ice. But often, athletes, once their careers are over, that's sort of the end of their inspirational moment. Some guys find a way to get involved, but you, personally, I think maybe what you've been through and overcoming those things and coming out the other side is an even bigger inspirational message to even more people. Not everyone's going to be able to be a hockey player and reach the caliber where maybe they may or may not make the NHL, but every single person goes through some sort of struggles, some sort of demons. I think that is so much more relatable to everyone, not just hockey people.
No, you get it. And if people keep writing stuff like that, then I'm not going to shut up because it's obviously working. And I was smiling, and it means the world to me because that's my power. That's where I get my power from is that this person, whether I've met them or haven't met them, but can say that from somebody who was raised by their grandfather for the first 5 years also, who was the biggest loss of my life when he died, and never seeing me play a NHL game, but he saw me play an exhibition game, but just the relationship. I buried my first puck at his gravesite that I scored my first goal with, and just different things. So I get it, and that's because it's real, and I'm not afraid to say that the things like that, the good, the bad, has made me who I am. What you do is not who you are. At the end of the day, we all get dressed the same. We all breathe the same air, so we're all part of the same race called the human race. And that's like for me, if I'm not trying to inspire today and now with what I've been in, then I'm doing a disservice to myself, right? Because my motivation is I never want anybody to, because if they really understood, if I could show them how bad it was for me, that I don't, because there's only, and this isn't just saying, this is my opinion, that I don't think 99% of the people could have come back from it. And that's just the seriousness of it. And I'm not proud of it other than the fact that I got back up. And then I said, stop the pity party and looked at myself and then realized I didn't know who the hell I was. Me. As a person, I knew who I was to everybody else, but who I was to myself. And, I'd say through the love of a woman, to find myself, to go on this journey, to eventually, quit drinking and get healthy and to speak out and to be confident. What you hear is, I've always been the same person. It is just now I know, I know who I am. So it makes me more dangerous, but it makes me more dangerous to helping people like that person, right? Because that is my fuel. That's why I do the comedy. That's why I travel around. That's why I do the public relations. That's why I'm in front of the camera. That's why I'm out doing this, because I believe in everything that I do. And if I don't, I'm not going to do it. And that's sort of pretty much, you can say that if I'm not going to enjoy it, I'm not going to do it unless it's part of embracing the suck to get where I want to go. And I tell everybody that. You look in the mirror, don't lie to that person. And also, if you can embrace the suck, right, you'll get so far ahead. And you got to learn, because the only way you're going to get over something is to be honest with yourself. And for me, it's like when you're convinced of the outcome, right? When you're convinced that you know what's going to happen if you do something, and I am thoroughly convinced, and that's the difference between being able to get over and keep moving forward. So I thank you. I thank everybody. I tell everybody wherever I go, I know I'm going to meet somebody and hear something that I need to hear or whatever, and it is. And I quit trying to. I used to go, I wonder if it's going to be this. I don't do that now. And then I just recognize when it comes, and I'm like, yes. So that, and it means the world to me. That's why I do what I do. So if you don't want me to do what I do, then quit writing me nice things like that. But don't. I'm just kidding. And keep, hey, and you know what? You got to keep getting up, because it doesn't matter. It goes good, and then you have a stumble or you fall. But just get right back at it, because you're a human being. It's progress, not perfection. And when you realize you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be true to yourself, then you're far ahead.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got.
I'm just wondering
I
who's going
like
to give me the
this
doctorate in psychology.
I like this one. Similar to the culture shock question, what was the oddest cultural thing that the Russians brought to Detroit? So instead of being them culturally shocked, what was the weirdest thing that they shocked you with?
That's a great question. I think that, like, for me, it was the culture, because I'm the same way, right? So if I want to know things, I always just go ask. And, it's one of those things that I've had that I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'd always ask, like, the food and stuff like that, because they bring different things on the plane, treats and stuff like I never realized.
Herring, probably.
Yeah, like when I went to... So we go to Vancouver, and to go to a dinner, like even before, because I think that what you capture is, and even more so that we don't realize, that Russian dinner that we had was sort of like after the March 20th, it was the stamp. It was like, that was the one after that coming out of there. It's like we weren't going to be stopped. Now we can say that in hindsight, but yeah, the herring, it's more of a European thing of what you eat in the morning, like the meats and the cheeses.
Yes.
And
For
it's
breakfast?
like,
Yeah, we don't have
wait, what are you
cereal.
having a sandwich for? It's breakfast. Eat some cereal and stuff. And like the milk, you realize that the things they eat, because they never have it, so they didn't grow up on it. And the
Yeah.
food would be the one thing, but you mention it is because, you go to the store here and you're like, whoa, it takes you 20 minutes, half an hour to figure out a candy bar. You go in over there, and here's your bread. Here's whatever you get, and that was the crazy thing to me. The food. But then you realize you're open to it, that you like so much different stuff.
Like borscht.
Borscht, I love borscht. Dude, it's awesome.
Borscht. What else we got here? Any good questions? Mac, you signed my hat in a photo that when you were in Kalamazoo. Thank you for the meet and greet. I remember watching you in your comeback season, starting with the Flint Generals. The stadium in Kalamazoo was packed that night. Great atmosphere. Just wanted to say hi and thanks for your service in Detroit. Also, what was it like playing in Calgary compared to Detroit? I didn't like seeing you on the opposing side, but that's business, I suppose.
Yeah, it was. That's the lockout year, and the whole thing is that looking back, my responsibility, because it was, I seen the writing on the wall, and I was going to do what I wanted to do anyways, and that was the band at the time. So I knew I was going to go somewhere, and I couldn't have gone to a better spot that first year with Daryl Sutter. Loved Daryl Sutter. Loved when he coached against in Chicago and San Jose. I had a lot of respect for him. Loved the guy. It reminded me of Junior, because there was a ton of junior guys and the younger guys. Mika Kiprusoff is my second favorite goalie, next to Ozzy. Just a great bunch of guys. And we actually lost in 7 in the first round that year to Anaheim, who won the Cup. But we had a really, really good team. And that first year experience was great. The best part, the highlight, was I scored on Manny against Detroit. We beat them 3-1 in Calgary on a wraparound. So I got, and then when we played in Detroit, my last game I played, I leveled Maltz in front of the bench. And I remember Daryl Sutter going, look these are his guys, and he's out there doing that, to them and stuff, and Maltz deserved it anyways. But I had a blast. The second year, not so much. Got hurt again, got, back into rehab and went sideways, but was able to come back out and come back. And, that to me, the whole comeback and the Kalamazoo and all that is just the relationship. Whether the fact that it worked out goes to Jenny's point, but it was me proving to myself that I thought I had something left. Sitting down with Drapes and then Kenny getting up, not giving anything, because I had to prove to Babs. Babs was the last one that realized, but then when he realized that he needed, and whether it was in the room, in practice, on the bench, playing 4 or 6 minutes, whatever else. So I played 17 out of 22 games and got 4th Cup, which I'm most proud of with Homer, Nick, and Drapes and Maltz.
Yeah. What about the fan atmosphere? I mean, Canadians love their hockey.
Oh, Calgary's the Sea of Red. They rock it up. That's a great barn. That's one of my that'd be probably my favorite barn other than Detroit and other than Joe Louis. But it was a great place to play. Great fans, great city, younger city. I have the people there, made some great friends, got married, got divorced. It was good.
That was the Saddle Dome, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
still is.
Well, I thought they moved.
No, that was Corral. You're talking about
the
Corral, the old one, to the Saddle Dome.
See, Jenny, you see any other good questions that are popping up as I'm writing?
Darren, what was the moment like for the players on the bench the first time you all saw that line on the ice for the first time? Did you know ahead of the time what to expect?
I was hurt that game, and it was in Calgary. And I was up in the rafters, and I didn't even know until... So you're watching the game, and you're like, oh, okay, well, Sergei, and you're paying attention to forwards, right? Oh, Sergei, Iggy, and Cosby. Okay, cool. And then you realize, they're playing keep away, and it's just, you got to remember, that Calgary had 8 shots on net in the whole game. They didn't have the puck. It was watching, so I watched it I always envision Wayne Gretzky seeing the game on the ice from the press box, seeing everybody. The game's so easy when you watch it from upstairs because you can see the play develop and stuff like that. And literally, had the puck 90% of the night. And the way that they regrouped, there was like, what the heck? Everybody was just looking around. And we talked about it. It's like, did you believe that? That was unbelievable. Like in shock. You know, to be able to, because here's the thing. They'd be chasing, so the Russians would do their thing and, we don't like it. We backtrack and find the open space. And that's what they were great. What we learned is that you got to create the space, sort of like soccer. You know, when soccer came in and stuff like that, kicking the ball around, it's all the imagery and then the plans and that sort of, but it was something special. We were like, whoa. But I think also too is that it was like, well, what did you think? I mean, we've seen them in practice, not playing together, but when we mess around, they do that stuff all the time, you know, as a line or whatever, and it'd be like stuff we'd never seen. Just the precision of the passing and just like the knowing where each other was. They didn't have to think. And as the grind line, that's what we took from them, is how to subconsciously, in our own way, me, Drapes, and Maltz, and be able to just know where everybody was, know who, like, so at the time, left wing lock, you heard the term, that would be the centerman or the left winger would help out the D. So there'd be the right winger and either the center or left winger would be pressing, and then they'd have three guys back, right? Mm-hmm. So Scotty always wanted it because he just wanted the right wingers to go, 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 go. He didn't really want them to have. But on our line, he would let me have responsibility to be a left wing lock, even though I was a right winger, because of the way that the three of us played together and because he trusted me responsibly defensively. Dougie Brown was on the other day, and he said, Scotty told you what you couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And then he sort of let you try to figure it out. And then if you did something that he didn't want you to do, he'd tell you, don't do that again. And you would you would listen, so you knew. Like for me, like Dougie was different. So for me, I knew every time that puck came around the boards, I was getting it out life or death. Right. In the first period, first minute, last period, last minute, and any time in between. And when I didn't do that, that was the biggest failure. If I got the puck out every time it came around or made a pass or whatever, then my job was complete. You know, in doing that so much that I was able to be on the ice for the buzzer for the 97 Cup 22 years ago today. So that's the pride things that we took. And because, you know, you had to find what you could do to be an asset.
It's interesting that you say soccer. You know, they played soccer with all the Russian people in Oak Park, Michigan.
Yeah, you
every
you
Sunday.
Were one of them.
Yeah, they would come they would play with us. I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, Sergey would come, his father would come, Vladdy would come. They were a constant fixture. Kazi would come. And it'd be just like a bunch of guys, dudes, and I was honing my skill because I was trying out for the Olympic development team. And it was so much fun. But you say, like, because soccer is a tremendously interesting, thoughtful game, and it's very much could be applied to the game of hockey.
Absolutely. That's
it's
how they play.
Passing.
3 on 2.
Yeah.
3 on 2. 3 on 2. Every, you know, your angles, and you watch them, and then you got to think. Year after year, practice after practice, drill after drill, when you got to go against them or you're standing waiting to go your turn and watching what these guys are doing, yeah, you're going to try different things and figure out, okay, I'm not going to try that again. I'm going to kill myself if I try that move or whatever. But they made us all better because, you know, they wanted us. We all wanted us all to be better, so as a group, we'd be better.
Yeah.
I might know the answer to this unless it's different from regular season and postseason. But Mac, what are your pregame rituals?
There's the standard is I get dressed right to left. Means I put my right skate, my right stuff on before I put my left stuff on, right? But my biggest thing is I'm last on the ice. I'm last off the ice. And every warm-up, especially at home, I give away like 20 pucks or something like that after warm-up. So I'm always last on and last off. Except one time, Sandy McCarty was in Calgary, and so this is how tough guys, because we wouldn't go off the ice, I wouldn't go off the ice, so we rock, paper, scissored it. So I lost the rock, paper, scissors match. So because of that caveat, it didn't affect the routine or superstition.
Oh, did Russians are highly superstitious people. Like I could write a book on Russian superstitions. Did they have any weird superstitions? Were you going like, what are you guys doing? Do you remember if they
You know,
had
see,
any?
because it gets to more of routine,
Okay.
and it's more of routine of time. You know, when to go,
Right.
when is your turn in the training room, or when is it? Everybody has a different schedule and a different routine as far as how they get ready. Some guys would like to ride the bike to loosen up, and the big thing that Igor brought was the jump box. We used to do the jump box, which is about 3 foot high box, and you do standing jumps on top of it, and it was to your explosiveness and your quick feet, and it was always quick feet stuff. So the training that if you get the Russian 5, which you better, the Russian 5, you'll see that the training in there. That's some of the stuff that they brought over that we would do.
Yeah.
Because and we always wanted to get better and to learn. And here's the thing. I figured out early that if I would just go in and follow Yzerman, Draper, or Larionov around the training room, I was going to get better.
Yeah. Well, what about your ice cream ritual? Was that a playoff only thing that you mentioned?
No, that was every.
Ice cream ritual?
Yeah.
You eat
Well,
ice cream?
no, yeah, dude, that was the best part. No, that was always that added to the buffet before on. So when you're on the road and you have pregame meal after you skate, you go back to the hotel and you eat. Well, we got the ice cream at the thing, so sometimes you eat bowl ice cream at the beginning and at the end. And Marty LaPointe we always used to joke that the towel used to come up as the playoffs went on because the ice cream bowl would. But we used, like we were just little kids. We'd order ice cream before you Drapes and I remember wherever we'd be staying, you'd have ice cream ordered to your room before you go to bed. And, it'd be it becomes a ritual, especially when you win. If you do something, walk in the different way. I had 3 different routes to the dressing room, right? Depending on winning or losing. And you'd always follow if you won or lost. Thank goodness we usually won. So.
I like this one. Would you guys expect a sort of Russian renaissance in Detroit with the recent hiring of Steve Yzerman, considering the extensive drafting of Russian players while in Tampa? So could we expect a Russian? I mean, for me, you can never have enough Russians, so bring more.
Yeah, no, I believe that if the Russian player is the best player for this team, absolutely. I think what the person needs to know is Steve Yzerman a long time ago probably realized the value of or how to scout a Russian player more, but it's because you say a Russian player, you can't. That's like saying a Canadian player. Well, I'm
Right.
not Connor McDavid, and we're both Canadian, right? So they're all different, but it's like I think the one thing is. Remember, they say, "Oh, are they tough enough? Or they're soft? Or they when the going gets tough?" No, that's not. I think that's gone out. It's an individual is how to look at drafting anybody. So whether they're Russian or not, I think it's a world league now, and
Yep.
draft the best player and get the best player no matter where they're from. And so that's the bottom line. Is that he realized that you have to travel the world. And see, and that's one thing about Stevie is he's hands-on, so he wants to see with his own 2 eyes. He'll listen all day long, but at the end of the day, he's given his eye test, and to me, that speaks volumes.
Yeah. What are the questions we got here?
I don't know. I feel like we can be here all day.
We'll have to put a.
I think this deserves an answer.
Which
Was
one?
there anyone that you wanted to interview for the documentary but couldn't land?
Yeah.
I think it's not about couldn't landing it, but I think our biggest thing is Dougie Brown. We really wanted to get him on, and thank God he was on the podcast.
And he went to the premiere.
He went to the premiere,
In New
but
York.
unfortunately the schedule is it was hard, right? It was hard for us, but we really wanted to have him on. He was considered the 6th Russian, right? I mean, he was always-
And when you realize, and if you want to check out Grind Time with Darren McCarty anywhere podcast, you can look up that interview that we did last Wednesday, and he goes into it of his relationship. And when you realize, oh, did you know that him and Slav Tisov are godparents to each other's kids and how close they were in New Jersey? That all ties in. Dougie the diplomat. That's what I call him. I mean, it's and without him and Scotty you realize how Scotty goes, okay, and I see how I need this young man. And he's American, and I'm going to show you that the Americans and the Russians, they not only get along, but you know what? They're the godparents to each other's kids.
Right.
So whatever the propaganda, and you know, Scotty realized a long time ago, and he saw it when he saw the junior team and he saw the Russians play, and he's way ahead of it. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to know from Scotty, like how, because the way that he put things into play, you realize down the road that he's had thinking about it for a long time. You know, like it's not, he doesn't make just moves. There's no emotion involved. No emotion.
You've got some requests to come to some specific areas.
Where?
Let's see, where was it? Somewhere, Twins, Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh yeah, we're gonna make our way up there.
All right, I'm gonna tell them.
Yeah, and somebody was saying how they're renting the LCA right here. When we rent Little Caesars Arena for the first time, I want you to come out with Wooly. I don't know what
Jason Woolley.
Wooly to play with us. We always have a blast, and you always OST thought after alumni. So they want you to come. These people, Rented Joe. That's their name.
They should change it then, because they're not going to get any ice at the Joe. I mean, I hope they're not paying too much, because I don't think there's any ice down there right now.
There's
There'll
another
be
question.
condos there soon.
Right?
There's another question about Detroit and Calgary, and I think this is a good question because they're very specific and it allows us to bring it back into this about Russian 5, which is, what's the difference in culture between Calgary and Detroit? Yeah,
That's a good. That's a good. It because Calgary's it's younger, but it's the Canada thing is this more of the style of play and more of the belief of the way the game's played, because Detroit's more of a worldly, right? But bring in the European game, bring in the Swedes, the Russians. We're ahead of the time in transforming the game. Where Calgary being, like I said, a bunch of Canadian Hockey League guys or whatever, we all played more or less the same way. I'll tell you the greatest similarity in Calgary and Detroit was leadership. Jerome McGinley. When I'll tell you, if it's the same as Steve Yzerman, when your son or daughter tells you that their favorite player is Jerome McGinley or Steve Yzerman, then you know you raised them right, because they're two of the greatest human beings I know, and they're different, but they're great people. They're great leaders. They're just great human beings, and that's the fun part is the group of guys. Even though it was younger, but it was tight like that, and it was enjoyable, but it was different because it was younger, so it was sort of teaching the way as they were trying to evolve, into more of the worldly game, and this is like in 06 or so.
Did you feel that you kind of took on the role that maybe like Igor and Slava took with those younger guys, where those older veterans came in?
Yeah. You went in for leadership and second support leadership. I know that Tony Amante, who'd played a lot of years in Chicago, came there at the same time I did. So him and I sort of added that veteran leadership with Chris Simon and to some of those younger guys. And like I said, it was disappointing because we were up 3-2 in the series, and we lost 6 in Anaheim and 7 at home. So it was close.
So on this 22-year anniversary of you guys winning the first Stanley Cup and 42 years in Detroit, I think this is an appropriate question, especially as the Stanley Cup playoffs are on right now. How hard is it to go deep playoff runs every year, mentally and physically?
It's crazy. That's why, the biggest thing is to know, because from 90, 96, 97, 98, to 02 and whatever, you're playing a ton of games, even though you're losing some of them in the first round. But you know what it takes. See, once you get the worst thing, I tell everybody, it wasn't losing in Jersey because we were too young and it was like, we're going to do it again. It was losing the next year after setting the league record that you might not get back. So when you get that far, you realize that you might have just squandered an opportunity, but it's the fact that you realize that you just, Drapes has a saying, there's just things we will not let happen again. And stand in the net and watch another team raise the cup, even though I did that in 09 at the end, but we put 4 in the middle, so that was all right. But, it's just, you realize that it's everything you ever wanted. You play, so you realize as you get older, you're just prepping for the playoffs. Everything's a prep, so whatever you have to do to get ready. And that's sort of as, he says in the film, Sergey said it, Scotty wasn't like the on you coach you. He was like the psychological sort of, you had to learn what it took to prepare yourself.
He's like a Jedi master.
He is. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It was just, I guess you guys are just lucky he didn't coach in like Yoda speech.
Sometimes he did. It sounded that way anyways.
One of my favorite stories that didn't make the film was Dave Lewis talking about how when Igor and Slava Fetisov came to the team, sometimes they would like whip out the board and draw plays, and Scotty would be like, "Oh yeah, okay, I see where you guys. That's cool." Or, like.
Oh yeah, no, learning, because here's the thing, Scotty's word was the end all be all, but how he got there, he would listen, and he would say, and different things on. Like you have different reasons to do things, and you just have to, trust that he knew better than you.
Right.
And it would piss a lot of at different times. I mean, there's things you don't understand, but at the end of the day, like you said, you end up getting a Stanley Cup ring.
Well, he figured out the ways to push guys, like Sergey.
And push them different. He taught. What the thing is you don't treat everybody the same because everybody's not the same.
Right.
And he taught us that. He taught how Sergey needed to be nurtured more and Shanny needed, to be confronted to get him to a little irate. Like Scotty used to be able to just say 2 things to Shanny and he'd snap. And then you'd see him just like annihilate some. Yep, he's moved his feet now, Barry. Yep, he's moved his feet now.
Well, like I think one of the fun things is, most coaches, if they want to send a message to a player, they'll cut their ice time. And from what I understand with Shanny, it was you get some extra ice time on the PK. We need to throw him out there.
Right. No. And it was always like the motivation would work.
Yeah.
Because he knew what it was. And he knew sort of like with me, you sort of let me go, but then you pull me in your office and give me a pee-pee spanking and I'm good. And I'm good. That's all you ever had to do, and because I was, didn't want to let anybody down. Right. So it was like he just knew how to work all of us to get the best out of us. And that's why he's the greatest.
Yeah. Let's see. We should do a couple more, and then we should probably put an end to it because we could just keep, like you said,
we should.
keep going and keep going. And
we gotta grab some lunch before we do this press run.
Oh,
I gotta run home.
Let's see. There's a few that I can answer, but I want to get a few that are directed to you, Mac. Let's not talk about hardcore punk. That's not really relevant. Mac, you got any thoughts on a Seattle team coming to Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, the West Coast. It'll be interesting. Obviously, I don't think you're going to find a situation where the league's going to allow a Vegas to come in and pick guys off the roster. But it's always interesting either when it's a draft or it's expansion, who's going to be left off each team's protected list. Yeah. That's always to say who's valued because of what and whose contract's too big that they feel. You really get to see how teams sort of feel about certain players that maybe they won't say.
Right.
So that's just for us,
right,
retired media to read into.
Right. I know for me, we spent time. Our second film festival was in Seattle, and they turned out and they loved the movie. I mean, we had sold out screenings. The community was just super into it, and we had Michigan expats out there, but we also had people who were just hockey fans who whether they're from other parts of the country or they've discovered the game in Seattle. I mean, I think they're going to have a really strong, excitable fan base. I really do. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people as to how rabid those fans will be very quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, in this day and age, it's great to see. I think it could be a great market. Obviously, as close as it is to Vancouver and Canada and stuff, and that'd be a good rivalry, Seattle, Vancouver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rivalry in the WHL, so they're just taking it to the big leagues.
It's funny. Todd Lewicki told me as they're kind of trying to figure out names. Like people love the idea of the Sockeyes, right? Seattle Sockeye is something very ubiquitous. But they kind of initially shut that down because, yes, but killer whales and sharks feed on salmon. And we don't want to be the chum in the middle between San Jose and Vancouver. So, they're really thinking about all of these things of, how do we fit into the culture of playing in the Pacific Division? I think it's going to be a fun fan experience for them.
Oh, it'll be awesome. And obviously, in this day and age, that's where we're going. So, Batman hockey.
All right. Is there anything new, Jenny, you've seen that's
No,
pressing?
I think we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, and let's wrap it up, and then we'll get food. If there's anything that's I definitely want to ask Matt.
Yeah, we can.
And ask you and put the answer later. But as far as
Yeah.
live going, I think we've been at this for about an hour and a half. So it's incredible response, incredible turnout.
Yeah, we just want to tell everybody, hey, share this.
Yeah, and if you're watching the live stream now, go rent the Russian 5. Watch it tonight. I can answer that. I can answer that. I can answer that. Matt, who are you rooting for, Blues or Bruins?
Well, I think right now here's the thing. The purist in me thinks that St. Louis has suffered enough, not only with what our era did and didn't let them get out of the thing that it's their time. Going home, I know what it's like to go home for a Game 6 and win at home. The sadistic purist in me hope Boston wins and then it goes back to 7. But, it's the one thing that, it's crazy because this series is unbelievable. It's just it's what everything for me as an old school purist. This is old time hockey. I mean, it is. It's the finals. It's everything. I'll complain about the new age game and the guys and this and that, but this is a war, and it's just been awesome. And it's unfortunate because I had. Throughout this playoffs, there's been some controversial refereeing. Last night, there was a trip that led to the second goal by St. Louis that wasn't called. That should have been. It was really blatant, and it's unfortunate. But you look at the way St. Louis has handled, different things. They've also, too, with the glove pass in the San Jose series. So everything usually evens out, and I mean, if you're not doing anything and you can go to St. Louis for the game on, it'd be a good place to be. I'm busy, but I'll be watching on TV.
All right. Well, should we make that the last one for now?
Sure, yeah.
Like I said,
because we can answer questions more, right? So, but
the ones that are
we can wrap
directed
up
at
the
us,
live.
yeah, we can answer. But let's wrap it up live, and we'll keep answering questions throughout the day on the post, on the Reddit post. But yeah, we'll go get some food and get ready for the rest of the press release.
Right.
Because
tell everybody thank you.
yeah,
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yzerman.